What's good, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. I'm your host, as always, Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me at Harmon Jr. on your favorite social media sites, now including TikTok. Not really. I lie about that every week. I still haven't done anything on TikTok. I'm sorry, people, but thank you for the follows. Well, we are in the final countdown, as they say. We've only got about 3-4 more shows of the year, people. We got one next week. We're not here Thanksgiving. We got one after Thanksgiving, and we got 2 to 3 in December, depending on holiday schedule. So yeah, we are in the end game. Nabil, we are in the end game. Like this is it. We're coming in hot. Yeah. 2022 is around the corner. Every time I say that, I feel like I'm living in like Blade Runner or something. Like the year was 2022. Like I'll tell my grandkids, I'll be like, yeah, in 2022, we were fighting, the machines.
Yeah.
We won. That's why you're here. But yeah, we are in the end game. So thank you for joining me for literally, this is probably what the 5th show towards the final. 5 more. This one being 5, 4 more to go. So
hey, thank you for having me.
Always. So everyone, as I said, this is my homie Nabil Azzouzi. Thank you for joining me. And just in case, for the people at home, in case they don't know, they should. But in case they don't, who are you and what do you do?
Hey, so my name's Nabil. I'm kind of a little bit of everyman. Currently working as a job as a pharmacy tech, but overall, I'm a huge video game fan. Been playing my whole life. I used to blog back at the GI user blog section. Met various people in the industry, movers, shakers, things like that. Always down to make new friends, talk about video games, and just hopefully like get some cool, interesting discussion about everyone's kind of favorite hobby. So yeah.
Well, welcome, sir. I thank you for joining me. We've already interacted before, but I love people that I've met throughout the years, interacting with them. And shout out for connecting me back in my GI days. You are truly an OG of the OG of anyone that I know. And you're a GI blogger. They need to bring back that user blog spotlight. That was amazing. But times change.
Yeah, absolutely.
The year was 2022, and times changed. I'm gonna be doing that all show. I don't know. But this week, people, we got some exciting things we're gonna talk about. We're gonna be talking about Pokemon Unite. Yes, you remember that Pokemon game that came out of nowhere? It's starting to lose some steam. And me and the Bill, we play Pokemon Unite together. Like, we're gonna be talking about is the magic over, especially with a new Pokemon game right around the horizon. What does the future of Unite look like? But before that, we're going to be talking about video game novel adaptations. Yes, people, the things we love, they love turning into movies, but they also love turning them into books. And I just find that interesting. And I promise you, some events this week is going to lead up to it. But before that, we are finally going to talk about video game reviews. Now, Bill, we've never really talked about this topic on the show in depth. But in case y'all don't know, a little game called Shingai Mugen Tensei SMT, excuse me for any lack of pronunciation, came out. It was released on the Switch. It was good, not great by my understanding. I never played an SMT game. Really isn't my jam. For those who are, I'm proud you got a good game. Not great to some, but good nonetheless. And honestly, that's all you can really ask for if you're talking about 5, 6, 7 in the series. Like, look at Final Fantasy. I don't care what no one says. Only about 4 to 5 of them are worth playing. I stand hot by take. That. Yes, yeah. Hot take. I will say this: there's each number is someone's favorite, but each number by no means is a good game. But that's not why we're here. So, in case you didn't know, people, Atlas makes SMT, which has a spin-off series which you definitely heard of called Persona. Games like Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royale and whatever Personas 1 through 3 were called, because I never heard of the game until 4. That's just me. But, they're great RPGs. And the story here is SMT got reviewed. And basically they were like, it's a good game. It's not as great as Persona 5. Same universe kind of monsters. It does these things good, does these things bad. And the internet, quote unquote, for those listening, the internet went mad and lost its ever-loving mind. And you're probably being like, Odell, the internet does that anytime a game comes out. Yes, it does, which is now we're finally talking about it. How much reviews actually weigh on people's minds and how nonsensical is it? And Bill, I want to ask you just real quick before we even start, how important are game reviews to you?
I would actually say they're moderately important. I generally like having someone that has played through the game, kind of getting their opinion and being able to articulate it well. So for me personally, I think game reviews are pretty important.
Yeah, I agree. So I would say to me, they're they're somewhat important. You know, those quizzes where it's like not important, somewhat important. I'm on the somewhat important, and what I mean is, I've personally for me, most games that I get, I know I'm gonna get before they're anywhere near release. Like it's just
True.
I'm getting that game. Either
Yeah.
fan of the series, I'm interested for XYZ reason, or you know, I just feel like it. Sometimes I'm getting the game not because I think it's amazing, but because like, you know, you need a break from your norm, and you know, this is a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
I'm more of a word of mouth guy, like Death's Door. Like even though I think that game got good reviews, like people like if you like Zelda, like you like this, and people I know's taste, I see, I'm like, you know, that's kind of where I go. But a review will never personally deter me from buying a game.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I totally get your vibe with that. I am slightly the opposite, where a review will deter me from buying a game. So like on kind of the 5-point scale from not important to very, if you're right in the middle with the somewhat, I think I'm kind of the fourth option, maybe one over.
Got you. I will say this: it may determine if I get a game now or later. That's what a review would definitely do for me.
Yeah, I respect that.
Like I'll be like, this is starting to sound like a I ain't got nothing to play. Oh yeah, cool. It's the PlayStation free month
on sale, yeah.
Yeah. But here's the crazy thing, Nabil, that I don't understand. Like, why do you think people lose their mind over a good game getting a good score being 7 to 8? Because I feel like any game that's 7 to 8 is truly not bad. It's just, you know.
Yeah. So my take on it is, you know, the things that we are passionate about, right? And video games, especially video game fandom, evokes a lot of passion. The things that we're passionate about, we kind of almost see as a reflection of ourselves, right? And this, okay, so for like I don't have a PhD in psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I think kind of delves into that, is we want to be accepted as part of a group, and we want, you know, what we like is seen as a reflection of, like, you know, who we are. So if, you know, let's say I'm a fan of a series and the series keeps getting 4s and 5s out of 10, you know, it could be seen as like, oh, I'm liking something lesser. At least that's how I interpret it. I don't know if you have kind of a different take on that, but I think that's part of why those emotions can be so strong if something gets less than a perfect score.
Oh yeah. Oh no. My take is a little less educated, a little less formal. Is that people are crazy, in the sense that, So I what you're saying makes 100% sense. But the thing, you know, what we see often is that this game got a 7 or 8 that I feel is perfection. Which I feel like if I feel a game is a perfection and the reviews land around an 8. Those 2 points just seem like,
you're vibing anyways, yeah.
Yeah, like those 2 points are like, oh, this might be my personal, like Pokemon gets a extra review point because I love Pokemon. Like, you know, it gets like it's my child gets the brownie point. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like they're saying, oh, this game is a 2, 3, 4. First of all, let's rewind. When's the last time you seen a game legit get like a 1 through 5? I feel like that's like, that game is like utter garbage at that point.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time that I can think of. There's probably definitely been some recently, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I could think of maybe 12 minutes. I remember that was getting a lot of 6s. Like it was, that was one of those games I could say was definitively in the 6 range, maybe 5. But you know, most games, you know, as long as they function, at least get a 7. And so I find it weird when the games get like 8 or 9s and people flip out that it's not a 10 or, you know, a 9, or in the opposite direction when a game gets a 9, they're like, oh, this is a 7. I'm like, we're really fighting over inches, people.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess to your point, like you said, you know, you're liking something lesser. But I say, well, let's look at Pokemon for instance. When people were upset that Pokemon got a 9, Sword and Shield, and they were like, clearly this game deserves to be, I don't know, a 1. I don't know what they thought with that case.
Yeah. I think it's one where let's talk explicitly about the Pokemon franchise, because you and I are both super fans.
Okay,
right?
let's do that.
Yeah. So, now that I opened that up, I'm trying to think of how to explain, because it's
No. If anyone comes for you, they gotta go through me first. I'm about that action. I think it's been enough time though. I think anyone who would come
Yeah.
they've said their piece.
Pokemon in particular, it's a series that is so hyper focused on like individualization, right? It's something where you're using your imagination and you can see yourself in these stories, right? The Pokemon universe explicitly asks you to put yourself in the shoes of whatever character, whether it be Red or Blue or Gary or Brandon or May or whoever, right? So I think because of that, and because of the really powerful nostalgia, the young age that a lot of us approach these games at, it almost carries that little extra oomph in terms of that passion, right? And it's almost to the point where, like you said, people can be crazy, and I think that's where that's kind of what causes that. I think almost that extra personalization, that extra passion can cause people to really lose it. And like a series like Pokemon, which, when you strip things away from it, it's a game that we're not even the target audience for anymore, right? So
yeah, we kind of grew out the target audience, and I always tell people, Pokemon specifically, how if you're not into hardcore battling, which a lot of people are, and the story is whatever. I think Black and White was the last time it was challenging / I cared about the story. Truly cared about the story. I'm not saying I don't, but it's kind of like once it's over, I'm done, and it's background noise.
Yeah.
I'm like most people, if you're not competitive battling or doing like the advanced things that you get in the post game, I mean, what does Pokemon really need to be this hardcore grind? I feel like it's a game where you get out of it what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so
I totally.
Yeah, and I'm like, for someone who's not like, when I look at these like super, what I would consider a non-hardcore fan, like they're gonna play through the story, maybe do some post game stuff, and then like that's it. I'm like, what do you really have to complain about?
Yeah, it's comfort food in a video game format.
Yeah,
you're going in, you know what to expect, and as long as you're getting kind of what you're expecting, you're happy. I think that is a good point. There's a Pokemon spin-off series, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series. And when I think of Pokemon reviews, that's actually the first thing that comes to my mind. And the reason why is because those, on a critical scale, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series didn't really get the critical acclaim that the main series games does. Right? Like, I think when Red and Blue Dungeon Team came out, I was getting like a 7. I think like Explorers of Time was like a 7. And I think the rest were like a 3 or a 4. Pretty harsh reviews for the other ones. Yeah. I could be wrong, completely, but I last I checked, that's what it was. And so, that's a series where when I played through as a 12-year-old, played through, Explorers of Darkness or whatever it was for the first time, I really loved the story. Like, it really resonated with me. I thought it was a really beautifully written story. So when I remember at that point in my adolescence, when I'd play the game, I'd see the review in like a GI magazine or an IGN. And I remember it stung a little bit. I was like, oh man, I love this story. Why are people hating on it? And so, I don't think I would ever go to the lengths of just railing about the review, but it was the first time that I can think of where I empathized of people's like personal feelings in regards to a review score.
Yeah, and all these things make sense, and I guess the internet's just a weird beast where it creates these things, and you can agree with this statement, but I remember I said on Twitter that I was like, I refuse to believe that there are this many SMT fans upset. One, because up until Persona 4 Golden, and I don't mean Persona 4, I literally mean Persona 4 Golden, I say there was a huge Persona fan base, but they were really niche. Like, you had to seek a Persona fan out. Persona 4 Golden got like critical acclaim, success, to the masses. And, Persona was kind of a household name from that point on. Now, I'm not saying that, like, it was one of those things where like, maybe if you had to be in video games to know Persona before then, but now it's kind of transcends into someone and be like, oh, I don't game, but yeah, I've heard of Persona, and that's, because of the Persona 4 Golden. I will still say SMT for the most part, it's still in that niche. Like a gamer's gamer would know what SMT is, but your casual wouldn't. And I'll still say, even with the release of is it 5, 6? I forget what
I believe 5 is one that just came out.
Okay, yeah. Even though I will say, it's probably gotten more, commercial viability success than it's ever had before, it's still in that what I would consider niche market. So what I believe, like I said, you can think it's wrong, is that a lot of these people are upset just to be upset at the situation, but literally have never played a game in a series, and or 5 is their first one. So at that point, what basis do you have to be upset or not? This is the fifth title in a series you've never played.
Yeah.
You can't even rightfully defend, any criticism, in my book at least.
Yeah, and I think what's important is kind of drawing the line between being upset and verbalizing it in like a kind and professional manner, or at least a constructive critique, versus just like the blind rage that you see when people are crazy on the internet. So I think it's important to draw that line. Like, be upset, explain, like have a disagreement, have some dissonance with it, but as long as it stays within the line of like being respectful to the reviewers, to the publishers, etc., then I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, and I guess also because this is again keeps be a reoccurring theme with reviews. People were upset that it was compared to Persona 5, arguably better game. And I'm not looking for an answer, but I'm just really amazed at the dissonance that people seem to have some at times, because it's like, okay, whatever the next 3D Mario game comes out will be compared to Sunshine, will be compared to Galaxy, will be compared to 64, will be compared to Odyssey. I mean, and just the way the 3D Mario game will probably be wildly different from them all combined, but that's just how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. As a writer, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, yourself having more experience with this than I have. You're always trying to not only craft a story or a tale or tell a piece of information, but you have to make it relatable to your audience, right? You could use all the fancy words in the Oxford Dictionary and pull out all the bells and whistles, but if your audience isn't reading it, that's gonna literally fall on deaf ears. And so, with the SMT series, it's natural to me, in my opinion, that someone's going to compare it to Persona, a literally related series that's more popular, for reviewers to like get their point across. So I agree completely. I don't fully understand why people are frustrated with the Persona comparisons when it is the reviewer's job to do such a thing, to inform a maybe more uninformed gamer.
Yeah, because like I said, if you're an SMT fan, you're an SMT fan, and you're probably just gonna get 5 regardless. But if you're like me, or you're like, I'm really not familiar with the series, this game looks cool, but I really need some type of guidance. So if someone's like, have you played Persona? I'm like, yeah, that's a popular series. Chances are, I'm looking at a JRPG. Chances are I played one of the most popular JRPGs ever. They're like, well, if you like that and expect that experience, well, that's not gonna be here. Or this is like, oh, now I know. Now I'm not walking in blind. I have a reference point.
Yeah.
Because go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I remember someone was I was trying to explain Pokemon what's it called? Pokemon Conquest to somebody. Yeah. And it's an RTS game, similar to Advanced Battles. And I'm trying to explain to them, and it wasn't making sense. I was like, oh, have you played Advanced Battles? They're like, oh yeah, well, it's like that, except replace the tanks with Pokemon. Because without comparison, if someone's unfamiliar with Pokemon and doesn't necessarily isn't familiar with the term RTS or what that implies, you need a comparison or reference point. So
exactly.
And that's all it is. And I mean, hell, think about the term Metroidvania. It's a genre. It's a genre that is made up from a title of a game to convey what is going on in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Metroidvania is not a true, by definition, genre. We have coined the phrase, but I don't think that is a actual, you know, lexicon genre. Like no one goes, I want to make a Metroidvania game. Well, maybe now, maybe now, but and you know, and it was kind of the first to do it, or at least to do it well. So
exactly.
But I don't know. You know, this could easily be a topic, but the it's interesting to see as time goes on this random toxicity towards game journalists or games media in general is just wild to me. I know it was always there, but it seems to just every year just fester up more and more. And we reached a point, and I don't know if this is an American thing because, you know, recently our country went through some crazy things with truth and politics. But I remember even when Pokemon, like when I see people like, I haven't played the game, but I know it's garbage. Screw this review. I'm just like, I don't even know how to argue with you.
Yeah. I am with you on just kind of that same wavelength of there's a certain in kind of the popular culture society we find ourselves in, there is almost a lack of just understanding of certain situations. And that's one where the idea of someone who just is unwilling to, how do I phrase this? Someone who is immediately going to discard someone's opinion because it might not necessarily be what they like on a topic such as like a video game review. That's something where I've kind of succumbed to the point of like, I'm not even going to try and go there. You know, if you want to be mad about the game, be mad about the game, but I'm going to try and focus on, you know, what the review does for me.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to have a moment of vulnerability here.
Yeah.
On a lot of reviews, I'm not gonna lie, I most times just, you know, scroll down to the bottom, saw the score, read the bullet points, and called it a day.
Peace. Yeah.
And I'm like, let's be real, people. I'm like, if you're gonna argue, at least read the article.
Yeah.
Like, if I scroll down to the like Pokemon Gen 9 game and they're like, this game's a 6, okay, that would be like, okay, I gotta read this. There's some things going on here.
Yeah.
But you know, my thing is, it's like I wonder what would happen if you know how some places, I think it's Polygon, I could be wrong, but I know some sites, you know, they adopted the no grade policy. I wonder how much argument would be having if every video game site for like a year was just like, we're not putting the scores, you just got to read the review to see it. Like, I just wonder what
it would change the landscape. Yeah. It absolutely would. It's an interesting thought experiment. I think what I do, because I will propose something, and correct me if you disagree. I think I'm wrong here.
Okay.
I genuinely think the vast majority of people are kind of along the vein of, I'm going to see the score and I'm going to peace out. Right? People do not like to read. We just don't have the attention span for it right now. People don't like to read. Give me the headline, give me the score, and I'm a dip. Right? Like that's what's going on. And so I think if you have it where it's just word-based reviews without the numbers, it would change a lot in the landscape. I am a fan of having a number. That's how my brain works. I like having a way to categorize it that way as well as the word review. But, you know, if it protects video game journalists from different harassment, then I would be totally okay with switching to word-based reviews, because, you know, they get so much unneeded crap. It's ridiculous.
You know, I would do it. Like my title would be like, you know, insert title of the game. What did I think? Read below to find out. Like, like this game was good, or was it? Just every headline would be that. Just
yeah. Yeah.
This game was a turd, but are turds good things in this game? And that was wordplay.
Is it a polished turd?
Oh, exactly. Oh man, like I wish I had the authority to just be like, you know, every AAA game doesn't get a score. Like, you just like if you go to Metacritic, it's just like you gotta read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Metacritic would just say something like, people seem to like it.
Yeah.
You know, a very vague, like, not even like they think it's amazing. Just
it's the same description as when you're describing something to someone at a party. So time is limited, and you're just like, yeah, it's good. And you can't get into in depth. Like that's what every review is labeled. The party review. Everything is labeled down to that 1 to 2 cent snippet when you're describing something at a party to someone.
Oh man, I would love that, the party review. Yeah, it's good. Like, I wouldn't eat it like every day, but
Yeah. It's all right. It's good. It's solid.
So I start giving like those arbitrary reviews. It'd be like, it's good as good as ice cream on like a 70-degree day. It's like,
yeah. And someone's like, I have no idea what you mean.
It's like you're like
every Pokemon game. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and be like 7 degrees, yeah, and be like in the Midwest, and it'd be like, is that good?
Yeah.
Is that warm enough for ice cream? Is that too cool for ice cream? I don't know anymore.
It's almost a way of, putting harassers in timeout, saying, if you can't behave when we use allegories and similes and metaphors and different references, then you don't get any. So it's kind of like, it's like if you can't behave when we use references, then have fun now.
I mean, start using like Shakespearean-esque comparisons. Be like, she was as a turtle on the rock on the mid-June voyage of spring. It's like, excuse me. Like, is that good? Bad? I don't know what Old English means. No, really, people. Like, read Romeo and Juliet without the box on the side to tell you all the analogy. It's like you're reading gibberish.
It's reviews in limerick form only.
Oh man, we're having fun with this. Oh man, I just feel like I would just love the troll. Just like every response, like be equally as confusing.
Yeah.
Like, sir, your point is your point is coherent as sandpaper through the rough. It's like, what?
I'm a super fan of the show Survivor, and this will make sense in a second here. And they had to do these incoherent phrases to unlock a power in the game. And one of them was, I'm as confused as a goat on AstroTurf. So that would be a pretty good metaphor to use there.
I'm putting that in my pocket. Well, while we're talking about all these similes, metaphors, and, visual aids, something I wanted to talk about was video game novels, and I apologize for my long-term listeners. I know that segue was not the best. I could have done better. I will do better. But video game novels. So in case y'all didn't hear the news, Metal Gear Solid, the physical editions of copies of the game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think all the numbered titles, have to be temporarily removed from store shelves because the license, IP, rights, whatever, to use historical events, images, where they use has expired. They're going to have to renew it. They're going to go back up on the shelves at some point in the future. Don't go all digital, people. Physical copies. I'm off my soapbox. Do what you will with that information. But as I was reading this information and stuff, I went to go look for my cases. I'm going to take a fancy picture. But then I found the novelization of Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. A book that I purchased at the Scholastic Book Fair at my school when I was of the age. I don't know if they still do that anymore. They probably don't. But Nabil, you remember that, the Scholastic Book Fair? You could purchase books. They'll come to your school.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a few years younger, but I definitely remember that. And I would guess that they still do. I mean, I imagine a book fair in an elementary or middle school or high school would still be beneficial. So
yeah, I remember at my book fair, I bought the PC copy of Glover. Not a book, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
Also at my book fair, I bought the PC version. Well, I guess at the time it was only a PC version. I bought Sonic CD. I bought I bought all my computer games 90% exclusively at book fairs. I know.
That's
the
awesome.
irony. Yeah. But so I had this copy maker style, and I was like, "Whoa! I forgot this was a thing."
Mm-hmm.
And then I remembered that back in that time, like in the early 2000s, I'll say like 2003 to 2010, probably not that far, but in that range of time, video game novelizations were a big thing. I'm not sure so anymore, but and I just thought, isn't this strange that like video game movies are one thing, but turning a video game into a book, like I'm like, does that really work that way though? Can you really capture? I mean, if the story is good, the story is good, but
Yeah, I I think it's a pretty understandable next step in literature, or not in literature, in like media in general, because we have, in essence, a story, and a story can be conveyed in so many different ways, right? Whether it be through song, through movies, through artwork, through movement, through video games, etc. And when we have a story, again, that we're passionate about, such as a Mass Effect story or a Star Wars story or a Pokemon story, um, if we have a story or a universe that we're passionate about, we want to be able to manifest that in many different ways. I literally, right before hopping on here, finished watching Arcane, which was the League of Legends Netflix adaptation.
Oh.
And so seeing, these universes in different ways, I think is a completely normal evolution of how we consume media.
Most definitely. So, as I've talked about this in Lent, and people talk about this in Lent and always, that, video game is such a unique form of, media, literature, entertainment, art, all the ways you can classify it, in the sense that it's interactive compared to no really form of art storytelling is, at least not in that way. And I was thinking, the novelization of Mario 64 would probably not be good at all.
It would be hard to pull off.
Yeah, there we go. It would be hard.
You're taking a lot of liberties. Yeah.
Yeah, but something like Metal Solid 2, it works well as a book. It's conspiracy theories, it's historical fiction, which is already a big genre amongst books.
Yeah.
And in a game that could be argued as much cutscenes as gameplay, it does well for itself. I find it interesting. The book reads like a script for a good half of it. It feels like you're like they just literally are just transcribing the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Like Snake, what? Otacon. Yeah. And then, just 2 pages of what was just literally what you just watched. But huh?
It would be great if one page is just a giant exclamation mark, like stylized. The whole page is just the one exclamation mark.
That would be pretty amazing. No lie. That is ingenious. If they're still making those, they should do it. but I was thinking maybe think if I'm crazy, instead of trying to turn all these big games into movies, I wonder how they perform as novels.
So here's my kind of take on it here. With video games, what you're doing is you're often showing, not telling, right? And by showing, you're condensing a kind of maybe potential verbose package into a small action. And so it saves space, so to speak. You can see a play, for example, in theater, and the play might have a script of 200 pages, but when you're watching it, it's 45 minutes of action when it's edited down. So in a movie, you're already having cinematics. You already have the visual aspect that inspires you. It can be easier to tie that into a visual medium like a movie. With books, you can say Mario jumped, and that is only 2 words. It's not going to be as fulfilling as the actual action. It's not going to, maybe take as much length, etc. So being able to fill out a book in length, right? People forget that novels, not a lot of filler, but a lot of exposition in order to accurately describe what's going on, to tell the audience. Going from showing it like the shortest form in a way to telling it, a writer's going to need to take a lot of liberties and be very thorough and very thoughtful compared to like going from a video game to a movie. I kind of hope that makes sense on that regard.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely does. And, the reason, so follow me here. I'm going to take you on a journey. So
okay, I'm excited.
We have things like Uncharted and The Last of Us. Last of Us being a TV show, not a movie, but basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the argument is always like, well, you could just play the game, and are they just gonna? Is it just gonna be the game, just live action? Just. And to anyone who's played the game, you're gonna be like, well, what's the point, right? If the point is to bring in people who wouldn't play the game or wouldn't play the video game, and I understand the argument that why it would be cool or why it could be good, especially, if it's a unique-ish story, that's not bastardizing the source material. If they don't pull like this is The Last of Us, but Joel dies, at least the hero in part 1, and here's the cast of 5 people that never existed in the universe. I'm personally not a fan of it, but I understand in terms of video games, when because a video game could be argued. I've already watched it, quote unquote. Well, why would I watch a less interactive version? Since the interactivity part is the good part.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where novels come in, where I think it will be good. Not every game would benefit from this. Clearly, more games would benefit from movies. But I feel like, since a lot of video games movie fail, I feel like because either some games are only good because you play them like Mario. Like Mario just has to be unique story. Just it has to be an IP license. Because there's nothing more or less in the games that could, like you said, like Mario went to a place, jumped on some things. That's it. You can't write that or show that in a movie. Really, it just has to be like like cartoon adventure. But a game like Zelda, where one could argue not a lot happens, Link is a vehicle to get us from place to place and, the fun. But Zelda couldn't be a game. Like, you can't watch someone play Zelda and probably enjoy it. Like, it's not a spectator game. I feel like you could probably watch someone play Mario and genuinely enjoy it. You don't really need to know what's going on. There's a thing. There's a Peach.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, Zelda's just like, Zelda's exposition is pretty much, walking from place to place in the world. And I'm like, things like that would probably make a good novel. Like, you could probably pick any Legend of Zelda game, and it would probably be a far better novel than movie.
Interesting. It's interesting because if you were to take Breath of the Wild or Link's Awakening, right? Those are the first two that come to mind. Mm-hmm. You can take the stories of both of them, and I think you could write a good movie on them. Right, Breath of the Wild, Hyrule Warriors, for example, the spin-off series, it attempts to bridge what happens, right? We have this idea of the calamity, and it leaves enough to the imagination that you can extrapolate upon it, right? And the movie already has very beautiful visuals, so that's why I think making a movie be very easy. Same with Link's Awakening, in that, when you're talking about the story of it, of the Windfish, of Koholint Island, it has a lot of very distinct, striking visuals. On the flip side, something like A Link to the Past would be an excellent novel because it has less about like distinct visuals, but it has like, how do I explain it? It has a lot of almost adventure depth. Like, you kind of have to fill in the blanks on that, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think, like you said a keyword there, fill in the blanks. When it comes to video game movies, especially like the less cinematic video games, like Last of Us, Uncharted, the newer God of War, it gives you everything you would probably ever need to work with. Mm-hmm. But then when just because it's coming out, when you make a Mario movie, there's a lot of fill in the blanks there, which I would say
there's a lot of creative liberties.
Yeah, but I would say Mario has enough history. It has enough history, characters, more or less confirmed lore to where I don't think you would have to. But like, if you chose Metroid, oh god, like you're pissing somebody off somewhere, some way, somehow. Like, I feel like the games that I feel like will make them great movies would never get picked up. Like Senua's Sacrifice. Crap, what's the name of that game? Oh god. Senua's Sacrifice. It's the one, she has schizophrenia. It's called something. Senua's Sacrifice. They're making a part 2.
Wasn't it like Hellblade?
Hellblade. Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you. Oh
yeah,
god.
You're good.
I was like, I forgot the name. Like, that would be.
I hesitated on saying it first because I didn't want to just be like Hellblade and then I'm way off. And you're like, where'd you get that from? But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, I feel like that's the type of video games you should be trying to make a movie out of. Mm-hmm. Something that you can really add to it. Because I feel like, Uncharted, Last of Us, what could you really add to it? Uncharted, I mean, yes, it's Indiana Jones, but there's other comparisons. But like, what could the movie version add or enhance that they couldn't do in the games? The Last of Us, we've had a dozen zombie shows. It's like, really, what could you do to where I could be like, wow, this is a good experience and different enough from the video game where I'm like, I'm glad that this happened. But I feel like those games like Senua's Sacrifice, I just feel like there's so much you could do, especially with colors and all the stuff that could really enhance the experience. And I don't know. I just find it all interesting, especially books. Because at first I was like, books for video games are just dumb. That's like going backwards. But have we ever had a play based off a video game? Now I would like to see that. See, I mean, you said play earlier. That would be something cool.
Yeah, I know they have the orchestra, so they already have the kind of a musical accompaniment to it. I'm trying to think of a series that would make like for a good play. Something dramatic, but also, I know there's so a popular play right now is called Hades Town, and it's based off an album, but it draws off of the Greek mythos of Hades, just like the video game. So if something like Hades Town could be a good musical, we could kind of see similar, like the video game Hades could be something similar that could be turned into a good play, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I feel like all the survival RPGs like Danganronpa, that would probably make good plays. I mean,
that would be if it's done well. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little too easy. That's almost too easy out.
Too direct. Yeah.
Because it's one could argue that game's just a visual novel anyway. But I mean,
I could imagine something like Ace Attorney Chronicles as well. Ace Attorney being with each court case would be a pretty good play. You could have a little bit of comedy in there with some of the different prosecutors, some of the different defendants, but you also have some good drama in terms of like being able to articulate what occurred. So.
Oh man, no, Ace Attorney, I think it'll be good. They would have to hit the I object like so perfect. It would have to be like cool. It would have to be quiet and just like boom, like it would just have to like jump you out your seat. Yeah. Like it would just have to like legit jump you out of your seat. I'm trying to think what I feel like there's like a perfect answer, a game that would translate into a play so well, and we're just not thinking about it. I mean, Zelda operas would be good just because they don't speak and it's already in the right type of time period anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of trying to go through like the Rolodex of different series I can think of that would be for a good play. The Witcher series has already been turned into a Netflix, but that could also be potentially turned into a good play. I could see that one. It would definitely need to take some liberties in terms of like streamlining the focus, right? Because you don't have the hours of gameplay or the hours of TV series in regards to like a 90-minute play. But I think that one has enough drama that could be pretty good.
The GTA series might be turned into a good play, like because you think about, they're really not that story-wise. They're really not that long.
Yeah. The replayability that a lot of the times comes from the multiplayer, the open world aspect compared to the story.
Yeah. And I guess oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. No, I was like, oh, duh. I said this one earlier. God of War 2018. That's. I mean, it's shot like in a dramatic, like that would just be the easiest one. Greek mythology, fallen Greek god, trying to connect with the sun. It's got all the pathos, ethos, all those words you learned in high school. Easy to go. Chop it up.
Yeah, I was going to say the Assassin's Creed games, but really the ones in the middle. So like Assassin's Creed 3, I think Unity, or not Unity. Yeah, Assassin's 3, Unity, and Rogue. Those three in particular, I think would be really excellent plays because they're often about telling a story about power, telling a story about fallible characters, and they're already set in time periods that had been used in plays before. A lot of Renaissance, a lot of kind of the long 18th century, so 1700s, 1800s, 1600s. I think those would be really excellent plays. I mean, Syndicate as well could make, like Victorian era could be a very good play. So I think those games in that series would be really well done.
Well, I think that's it. There we go. Boom. Cut it. Paste this. Ship it. Do our blind castings.
Absolutely. We'll find Troy Baker somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's not far-fetched that we'll be on later in life and like maybe our grandchildren, children, what have you, and it'll be like the play of like Halo the play or Halo the musical. And we're just like, how wild is this? Like it'll be considered like high art too. Like it'll be like trying to go see Hamilton or something.
Oh yeah, that would be I wouldn't be surprised, but that would also still be kind of wild to see if that happens in the next 10, 20 years.
Oh yeah, most definitely. The 90s babies, so to speak, are getting up there in age, so I'm pretty sure the like the rock and hip hop operas and things of that nature, which like like if someone does like, you know, Queen the musical, the rock opera, we wouldn't bat an eye. We'd just be like, oh yeah, that we dare I say, we'd be like, that makes sense. I'm surprised I haven't done it already. But I'm pretty sure, you know, if you ask someone in the 70s and 80s if they were to do such a thing, how would they feel? They'd be like, that's preposterous. So I mean, I guess you never know.
Yeah, and also to the passage of time in terms of like the canonization of our pop culture. You know, when things are fresh in the moment, it feels different than when you've had 20 years to look back on it. For example, I'm trying to think of here, like something from our childhood, like when Friends was on like, you know, on your Fox or NBC. I think it was an NBC series, but when it was on kind of major cable, it was seen as a good show, as a big public phenomenon, but it wasn't like almost canonized and worshipped as it can be 20 years later when it first hit Netflix.
Yeah, like I always tell people, I feel like Friends became popular after the show was technically over. And I always find it weird. If you look at the people who said they love Friends growing up, and then you actually do the math, I'm like, you can't tell me you were 10 just watching this every week. You know, because that was in the era of like, you pretty much had to like, if you weren't there, you know, Friday, Wednesday at 7, well, you're not seeing the episode for like God knows when.
Yeah.
But
you're out of luck.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I'm gonna take people at their word. I'm not gonna call no one a liar. But I really think that Netflix added is when, like, I don't know, people fell in love with Friends. But we're not here to talk about Friends. We're here to talk about Pokemon Unite specifically.
The passage of time and how it'll treat Pokemon Unite.
Oh, excuse me, people. Welcome to Full Circle Podcast.
We came full circle there.
You did. With your new host. Remember I said there's only 5 shows? I meant there's only 5 shows with me left. Clearly, the passage of time, I have to pass the torch. The bill is your show. Treat it good.
No, man, this is your baby, and I learned from the best. So,
but all right. So I'm just gonna ask a basic question.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pokemon Unite isn't as big as when it came out. Duh. I mean, that's just every game ever. It hasn't fell off. It's surprisingly still been going strong. The Halloween event was huge. People were chatting about it and stuff. So it's still going good. I think it's safe to say it's lasted considerably longer than most people ever dared to think it would.
Yeah.
But we're getting into the era now where the big boys are coming to play. Brilliant Diamond, Dazzling Pearl. I might have said that backwards. I don't know which where it goes to which name, but it's here. We're a week out, a week in. And then, you know, Pokemon Legends Arceus is now basically 2 months away.
Yeah.
And in this world where we're about to get the heavy hitter Switch titles, do you see Pokemon Unite still having room at the table?
I could go either way. I think with a game like Unite and most MOBAs in general, it has to fill a purpose and it has to be fun, right? So the purpose being, you know, being able to play with friends, or that purpose being I have a rank to achieve. So if, you know, Tencent and the developers can make Pokemon Unite feel rewarding for competitive players or continuously fun enough for casual players, if it can do that, then it can have a staying power as long as, you know, it sees fit. But if it fails to deliver on those fronts, then you might run into issues. On the competitive side, I have a lot of friends, you know, and myself included, who played it competitively to start off with. And then once they hit the rank of master or hit the rank of ultra or veteran or whatever rank they wanted to get, then they're like, I'm good. I did my piece. I beat the game, and they dipped. So I think having incentives to keep coming back is going to be important for the game's staying power.
Yeah, so that was kind of me. My thing was to hit master. I got to ultra some level and was just like, man, this is really taking too much time. And I guess this is not a fault on Pokemon Unite, but more of Nintendo, so I'm really not going to hold it against them. But the barrier to play with friends was so big that it drove me away, and I'm pretty sure it drove a good number of people away. You know, not being able to have local voice chat, not be able to communicate with your team in any real effective way at all. Yeah. You know, and I would say I can get this. The ranking system is too far wide. Like, I think it's basically until you get to Ultra, are you playing with people who should know what you're doing. Like Veteran, you can still play with basically someone who picked the game up yesterday, and that, creates a fun, not fun dynamic sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But so I guess what you said makes sense from a MOBA in any game design standpoint. But I always wonder how much of Pokemon Unite's appeal. I think is a pretty decent MOBA as far as going just out the gate first try. Yeah, like it's solid.
It's solid.
Yeah, but how many people are there due to the name and appeal of Pokemon? Would you say?
I would say the vast majority, because as a MOBA, it doesn't carry the depth of, say, a League of Legends or a Heroes of the Storm or a Dota 2, or a Smite. It doesn't carry the depth that those titles might have. But what is fun is seeing your Pokemon evolve, using the different moves that the characters have. So I think that's a big base of the appeal, is the Pokemon IP attached to it.
Yeah, so, and I agree wholeheartedly. So my thing is, and Pokemon Unite came during what I would consider a Pokemon drought. Like, I think they said since Sword and Shield is the longest release from core title to core title in Pokemon's history. Normally, you got a core release, I think every 2 years or something to that nature. Usually being like the core title, and then like the third entry, being your crystals, emeralds, black and white.
The best ones.
Yeah, platinum, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Sword and Shield didn't have a bow or gun, if you remember that fun time. We did get some what I would consider pretty decent DLC, but still, we never got that mythical third title or Sword and Shield 2 or what any number of ways it could have went.
Yeah.
And I remember someone tweeted this, that, we've been without Pokemon for so long that, not that it's out the narrative, but people don't have nothing to talk about Pokemon anymore. The game-wise, of course, the cards have been killing it. Yeah. Like, it's 1998 all over again. It is insane.
Yep.
But in terms of the video game space, Pokemon Unite comes out, and I think, us was like, Pokemon video game content, cool. And it didn't suck. So that really helped it. Like, a lot of people are like, whoa, this game doesn't suck? What? Question mark?
Yeah.
And so it's driving force. But now, since we both agree that Pokemon, the IP, the name is what got there, what happens when the talking Pokemon point is Brilliant Diamond, Dazzling Pearl, Legends Arceus, Gen 9 announced. Now we have all these other Pokemon games, new things in the forefront of mind, especially when Arceus comes out. That game can suck, and it's just going to just change the landscape at this point. Like, I don't even know all these new Pokemon.
It's going to sell well.
Yeah, it's gonna sell well, but like what it means for the series, video game series as a whole, like I feel like I don't even know. It's exciting and scary at the same time. So I'm like, how does Unite survive all of that?
Yeah, well, two things. I think one, I think the Pokemon franchise is so huge and massive that there's room for multiple Pokemon titles. So I actually don't think that Pokemon Unite and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes are necessarily competing in terms of the same audience. So what I mean by that is, like, if you like Crystal, you're going to play Crystal. If you like Coliseum, you're going to play Coliseum. If you like Mystery Dungeon, you're going to play Mystery Dungeon. And the franchise is so huge that you can play a spin-off and still get that same experience, and still, like, like it's not they're not exclusive. So I don't necessarily think they'll compete, but I do think with Unite, I'll look at the Twitter feed and see kind of updates for the game. And my biggest critique is that, you and I both played the game. We did our ranking, and then we played as each character, and we get the kind of the experience of the game. A good MOBA never lets you feel like you beat the game in a way. As twisted as that is, it never lets you feel like you beat the game. It gives you that next kind of dopamine hit. So with each character that gets released, I would honestly, I know it's hard, but I would have flipped the development focus on less $40 skins and more characters. The pace at which they're releasing characters is good, but it's just kind of barely keeping people's attention, right? Like, And let me know after I finish this what you think about it. But like, where's my Blaziken, right? Where's my Linood? Where's my Camerupt? Where's my Sceptile? Or where's my Meganium? Or etc. Like, there's so many out there that we'd love to see incorporated into the game. And I think the pace of that is not fast enough to keep up with the players' focus or attention of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I always like to preface anything I say that I'm not a developer. I've never worked in development. And, I know that you just can't snap your fingers and amazing things happen. So, of course,
I imagine it's easier to code a skin than it is to code an entire character and interaction. So
yeah. But with that said, I've always felt like it's generational wise, like it feels so oddly lopsided in ways. And like, there's over 900 monsters at this point to choose from. And or I think the official count is like 8 something. I don't know, 8 to 900. I don't know where the official count lies at the moment, but
there's a lot.
There's a lot. After Gen 9, we're definitely probably hitting 1,000.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about. Which is why Sword and Shield was right with F the national decks. That's just insane at this point.
I don't even want to go in that route. So I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
but it's just like you're a more experienced mobile player than me, and you're right. Like, I felt like I beat the game, which is why I kind of stopped playing Pokemon Unite. And like with Jared, our other friend, it's just it's so hard. Like, I feel like if I could just turn my Switch, be like, hey, get on, and boom, voice chat, you're coming through the Switch, and like, I'd probably play a lot more, honestly. But again, that's no fault to Pokemon Unite. That's more of on the Nintendo side of things.
Yep.
But it's just, I kind of feel like Pokemon Unite has won in the sense that it did what it needed to do. It, like, by this time next year, if no one's playing it, I think it'll still be successful. But since they did the amazing thing of releasing it on mobile as well, I mean, hell, the Pokemon Go can still be going strong, which in my opinion is a game that does not respect its players. It's like, the updates were rolled out at such an abysmal pace, and the game still does so many things wrong that should at this point be working correctly. And what I mean by that, people, Pokemon Go has made billions with AB, billions, not millions, billions with AB of dollars. They have money to put towards some resources. That's all I'm saying. That it comes to a point, like, for example, we talked about last week how Nintendo's N64 games basically failed on the Switch. That is unacceptable from a company like Nintendo. Like, no, this isn't like some GoFundMe that they like, no. So, there comes a certain level where I feel like, you got to be like, okay, we're making billions of dollars. We got to get some things correct here.
Yeah. And I think that's where that almost kind of delves into the idea of, consumerism, right? What do we expect as consumers? What is appropriate to ask for? And what is appropriate for the developers, right? Because you have to take into account their salaries, the hours they're working, etc., right? So it's a very that's another really deep rabbit hole you could go under.
Yeah, it is a deep, there is no correct answer, but what ultimately I say is, if Pokemon Go, with all its flaws, can find a way to survive, even though it sounds like I'm talking bad about Pokemon Go, I'm really not, because even with all its problems, if it can still find a way to be successful today, Pokemon Unite can too. And that's mainly because it's on mobile. Because if it was just on the Switch, I'd be a little worried. But since it's on mobile too, it'll probably be fine. And I don't know if you played it on mobile. It actually plays surprisingly really well. I was impressed, like, thoroughly.
Nice. Yeah. The only thing about mobile is that I just, from personal, like, anecdotal experience, I haven't seen enough of people playing it on mobile. Everyone I know has been playing it on Switch, so I'm like, I didn't know there was a fan base for it. I didn't know there was an audience for it. I would need more, like, data, both personal and numbers wise, to make a prediction about its.
I don't know if there is an audience. I'm just saying, like, mobile gamers, usually if they latch on something, they latch on. Versus, like, I feel like if you're strictly gonna play this on console and it falls off, like, if you're on console and you let it fall off for like a month, you're probably done with that game forever in a day. Versus, like, if you're a mobile player, mobile people, they have more tendency to be like, oh yeah, look, yeah, I'll play this.
Yep. Pick it up, set it down, etc.
Yeah, but ultimately we will see. I will be, come February, March, I would like to see where Unite is sitting. Because I feel like if we hit that February, March era, especially with all the other discussions about Pokemon going in other directions, because I think we will know the fate of Unite. Because to all your points, the only thing I truly disagree with, and that where Pokemon Go and those other Pokemon games wouldn't need it, I really feel like the strength of Unite came from people talking about Unite. And I don't know if Unite can survive in a realm where people aren't consistently talking about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely.
Versus, like you said, Mystery Dungeon. People love Mystery Dungeon. Those games, they'll be fine. You don't need a discourse about Mystery Dungeon for them to keep making them, I don't think.
Here's the difference between the two, though. Mystery Dungeon is a fixed product, whereas Unite is PvP.
This is true. This is also is completely dependent on people actively participating. And unlike the core game, you can't have your own Pokemon journey and just say screw battling online. Like you can't forego that aspect of it.
Yep.
Which
when you have a game as a live service, that's part of the danger of it, is you have to keep that live player base.
Oof, you know what? Pokemon Unite's probably not gonna make it. Again, we'll reconvene. We went on a long-winded philosophical talk for me to end there. In fact, I'm there more now than I was before. But the Bill, real quick, where can the people follow you, keep up with you, chat with you about your amazing opinions and all that such?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So feel free to reach me out at Twitter at Nabil's Hot Takes, Nabils Hot Takes. Always down to talk about music, video games, all sorts of good stuff. Love making new friends, so feel free to reach out there. And yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was an honor and definitely a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, man. No, thank you for joining me. I had fun. And remember, people, you can reach out to me at Harmon Jr. across all your favorite social media. You can find the website at FC Podcast 23 on Twitter and Instagram. And there's a Patreon for those folks that like to do that at Full Circle Productions. But remember, you can like, share, subscribe for free $99. And go ahead and leave a review, help the channel, all that good stuff. Nabil, thank you for joining me. And everyone out there, as always, have a great week and be blessed. Peace. Until next time.